Okay.
All right, and then just the timer, and bam. All right, well, in that case, whenever you're ready,
All right.
take it away.
Let me just save over some files real fast. All right. And then same thing, I will count you down from 3. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so welcome to All Gold Bolts. Like I said, this category starts out a little slow compared to New Game Plus, which is pretty much just all action all the time. But that's okay. So you're actually going to see a lot more of the game in this run. I mentioned there are some planets that we don't go to, and we're going to go to all of them in this run. So one other thing that's very important about this first planet in particular, and the first couple planets, because we're starting from scratch, I need to worry about bolt count. So ideally, I'm going to want somewhere around 450 bolts leaving this planet, and it looks like we are on track to do so. Somewhere around 400, 450. If I got to grab some extras, that's A-okay. We'll take 415, perfect. Because we don't have Clank yet at this point, or any of the pack attachments for him, we don't have the Walloper, the PDA, any of that stuff. Pretty much all we have are side flips, and again, these first couple planets, pretty primitive, but AGB gets really fast. If you look at, say, the first 5 minutes of the run and the last 5 minutes of the run, it's quite the difference. So right here, I'm going to actually hug this corner and then grab the ledge, and kind of something to note, I didn't really mention this during NG+, but something to note about the way Insomniac developed a lot of these maps is that they're in giant circles to avoid backtracking, which is great for a casual game and perfect for speedrunning because it allows things like this to happen, so I don't have to go all the way around. And that's actually going to be a pretty prominent theme for a lot of planets in this game. Okay, so Kirwan is the first level where the game really opens up, and there's a few different pathways, and we're going to cover most of them, but we're going to be skipping out a couple sections. Right now, the biggest thing I'm worried about is there is a giant helicopter that's going to spawn on this bridge. You can kind of see him in the distance there, and I need him to give me around 1,000 bolts, which is very important. And oh god. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's more than fine. I saw lots of 5 bolts there, and I was like, oh no. He's normally pretty lenient, but sometimes he can. I've had runs get like less than 800 there, and it's like, well, oh capitalism. All right, we have the helipack now, and we're going to be making our way over. I didn't really cover this in NG+, but pretty much the main thing with the helipack that you see Ratchet kind of vibrate in the air for a little bit, and that's called a mid-air long jump. It's basically a long jump turned into a side flip, turned back into a long jump, so you get the initial speed from the first long jump, the throw of the side flip, and then the distance of the second long jump. And there's our first gold bolt. There are 40 gold bolts in this run, and usually there's 2 or 3 on either planet. Some have more, some have less, but usually 2 or 3 on every planet. And then, just like I did in NG+, this thing was really bad, hold on. Okay, so I'm going to try and get this guy to shoot me as I enter this cutscene, and that breaks my position lock here, so we can just make our way on over, and it's a lot harder to see because in NG+, again, we have the Tesla claw, that's that giant green electric shot cannon, and here we have nothing, so I'm really having to pay attention to where Ratchet is, and it's really hard because you weren't supposed to be moving during this. But we got through that. That's really awesome. So like I said, bolts are super important. So I'm gonna head down here, and we're gonna grab this gold bolt in the subway tunnel. And then, very important, I'm going to reload this planet after I get this and the game saves. And I'm going to enter a different part of the level after we load back in. I'm going to kill one dog on the way there and not collect any bolts. And when I go to this area, for some reason, this is a very goofy thing about this game. We're gonna blow up a bunch of bolt crates in a very specific order. And for some reason, by doing all of this, like, it might sound really random, but my bolt count is going to skyrocket. It is the get-rich-quick scheme. And conveniently, there's also the third gold bolt on this planet, so... But you see there, a ton of extra bolts dropped. And so if I stand in the right spot... And I should get somewhere around 4,000 by the time this is all done. So I think it's going to be a little low, but that's okay. We can make up for that later. Yeah, 3,900. Okay, that's fine. And this is the other main path. The one way takes you to get the helipack and then eventually the Eudora coordinates. This way takes you to get a gadget called the swing shot that we actually skipped in NG+, but it's super useful in all gold bolts. And something else to note is this training course that we're doing here. Everything's tied to a cycle, but didn't have to wait super long on any of those, so that's really good. So we're gonna talk to Helga. We're gonna buy the helipack or buy the swing shot, excuse me. And when we die here, it actually just spawns us right back at the ship, so it's way faster than going back around. Okay, so I mentioned in NG+. Eudora is a very, very short planet, and even though we don't have the decoy glove at this point, so we can't just clip through the wall, the way to get there without the decoy glove is still really, really simple. So this is a technique called slope intercepts. So I'm basically crouching in very specific spots and then high jumping out of that. And here's a cool thing here. You can actually backflip out of that cutscene and then get back up top, and there's the only gold bolt on this planet. So even though, you know, we don't have a lot of movement, we don't have a lot of weapons, and there's gold bolts to get, this planet's still really short. Okay. Got through all that. So up next is Blarg Station, and Blarg is kind of infamous for having... It has these long, really curved hallways, and it makes movement not super fluid and easy to get through, so we're gonna try and get through as best we can, but... I don't know, maybe the movement just feels really jagged at times. And the way I'm doing this here, we actually skip going around to get the extra height. You can just barely make that swing shot note. Okay, I need to be really careful here. Okay, should be good. It's very easy to crash here if you break both of those at the same time or close enough together. And definitely don't want that. Okay, that was pretty good movement, all things considered. I'm okay with that. So it's pretty important that we did the jackpot glitch on a few planets ago, because there's a really steep 4,000 bolt stipulation at the start of the next planet that normally we have to get really creative with getting extra bolts and whatnot, but thankfully that kind of nullified that. Here's a really goofy skip here. So I'm actually gonna clip out backwards here. And this is an entirely different. This is the warship area that we were in during NG Plus, and we can actually grab this from the back. Really, really weird out of bounds there, but super useful. And then because we don't have the decoy glove or anything, we're actually stuck in there, so we have to reload, and that's going to put us right back at the ship. Okay, so if you saw the NG Plus run, these next two planets are really technical. I mentioned at the start during NG Plus of this planet that there is you're basically chaining together side flips into side flips really quickly. So let's see if we can hit these. That should be good. Oh, just barely. Let's go. Okay. That's really hard. I didn't really explain it super well during NG Plus, but basically you're fluttering R1 and R2 back and forth, and it's like 12 inputs a second or something while you are moving the analog stick back and forth to side flip. Really hard. If you drop any of them, the entire thing gets eaten and you fall back down to the water. Okay. Moving right along here, these rooftops can be a bit finicky sometimes, but we are going to try our best to make it along an invisible ledge on the right side here. And there's a gold bolt in the last room of this maze that normally you have to like tightrope all across the top, the beams around everything. But got that, and we're gonna try and depth abuse in this corner over here, but it can be a little precise. So if I do this correctly, we're gonna grab this ledge and go right down. Okay, so we're back over in this area. We're gonna try and SI off this lamppost and then this tree here. And this, I'm just gonna let y'all see this one. This is really goofy, out of bounds, but there we go. That bolt always blows my mind because you go through like 4 different areas. You go through the plaza area, and then you're going like on the rooftops, then you're going onto the racetrack that we don't even have the hoverboard to race with yet, and then you're going into, that's a part of the sewers area that we also didn't get to see. It's crazy. All right. So this is the other really, really technical planet. Again, to do these infinite long jumps, it's R1 and R2 fluttered very quickly, and then either the D-pad or the analog stick in line with one of those, and you're chaining long jumps and side flips together over very specific surfaces. So this entire planet is defined by that. This mud that you see, all around it, all around the planet, we're going to be infinite long jumping across all the different parts of mud. And I mentioned Ghost Ratchet in the New Game Plus run, but I'm going to get it by jumping into the mud and then pulling myself out last minute with the swing shot. And now we can go through all these walls here, which makes getting the 2 gold bolts on this planet just super, super helpful for both of those, as well as getting to the final area of this planet a lot quicker. So the second one is in this building here. We're just gonna break these boxes here. And again, like I mentioned, these infinite long jump chains, they really are all or nothing. If you drop it at any point, the whole thing gets eaten. So perfect. Okay. And now for planet 3 of the back-to-back-to-back most frustrating planets in Ogle Bolts, in my opinion. I think because the first two are very, like I said, that they're all or nothing. There's a lot happening and a lot on the line if you die at any point. But this one is a lot more deceptive. There's nothing super like flashy or crazy or mind-blowing. It is just a lot of things that have to go right and have to be fast. I'm gonna have to grab some extra bolts here, but that's okay. There's a pretty steep 2,000 bolt cost at the end of this planet. So we're just gonna be grabbing some gold bolts here. And then trying our best to get to 2,000 as quickly as we can in order to cover that. I should mention, the latter portion of this planet is normally done with a gadget called the grind boots. You're basically like traversing all these different rails that kind of intertwine across the planet. You see them in the background there. But the grind boots are really far out of the way. They're locked behind a boss fight, and they cost 2,000 bolts, so there's already... And again, bolts are really tight, so the less things we have to buy that aren't mandatory, the better. So the skip on this planet to avoid using them is really, really intricate, and it's basically a bunch of those slope intercepts like I mentioned on Eudora earlier, but done back to back and in... Okay, that's fine. You can normally do a chain there and go straight into this cutscene, but that's fine. You have to stack, I think it's like 11 SIs back to back, and again, very, very specific spots, and we're gonna be turning Ratchet in certain ways, and it's really complicated. And then on top of that, we're gonna need to glide up the rail. And again, if at any point I slide off, I have to do the whole thing over again. So we can get through this. We're doing a good spot. Okay, I'm really good on bolts now, so let's see how this goes.
I have the rocket team leads figured out, so if you are not standing in front of me, please come here so I can tell
That's
you
fine. So, like I said, those are all very, very specific spots, and I got that pretty quickly, so I'm happy about that. But it's not over yet. So I'm going to try and get this mine out of the way, and then we have to ever so slightly land on the rail here, and then slide up it. And again, if I slip off at any point, there's next to no salvaging it. If I'm lucky, I can hyperstrike, and the wrench will collide and put me back up, but that's really unlikely, so we're gonna take this. As easily as we can. And I'm basically staying on this one as long as I have enough height to make it onto the one that's below me. And that should be good. Okay. Okay. Got through that. I told everyone in preparation for this that that was the thing I was the most worried about, because basically if you drop any of the slope intercepts, you just fall straight down to the bottom and have to literally climb the mountain from scratch again. So got through all that. Okay, so this is once again the only planet in the realm where we play as Clank. And I mentioned that even though we don't have in-level movies in All Gold Bolts, there is a setup for this. And this used to be one of the most infuriating tricks in the entire run. Oh, got that first try, thank God. Okay. The setup that we have now is way more lenient. But, I mean, people used to literally just jump at the tree for minutes on end and pray that it pushed them through, you know. There were a few setups after that, but they were still really precise, and just so many things that could go wrong. and then a runner by the name of Sippy dropped that setup a couple of years ago, and it was. I truly believe that alone made this a way more approachable category, and we started seeing more and more people play all-gold bolts, which is awesome. Okay. So, Gaspar, like I mentioned in NG+, there's not a whole lot to do here. However, it does have two of the... I mean, the second one's not that bad. It just... It can be infuriating, but this first one is also the source of a lot of frustration. So hopefully, I have to do two of those mid-air long jumps back-to-back, and they both have to be really powerful. So good speed, good distance. So hopefully, that all goes well. And thankfully as well, there's lots of bolts here. At this point in the run, bolts are still important, but they're usually not that tight. I think this should be good. All right, Bailey, let's go. Okay. I actually missed the mid-air at the end there, so unfortunately, it sends me back here anyway. But it's okay. We get to show this one off again. There we go. Okay, that's not that big of a deal. Thankfully, you have a checkpoint right there, so you can just try again otherwise. And when I pick up this bolt, I'm actually checkpointed here as well. So, again, we're just going to reload and go right back to the ship.
J-Bomb.
The second bolt's actually right by the ship, but
J-Bomb.
the way that we have to do it is, like I said, it's not that hard. It just... You basically, as you'll see here, you have to SI off of this part of the mountain, and if you don't land in the right spot, you just slide right off. So, hopefully... Alright. And then you just have to watch Ratchet die, which is really sad, but... Okay. Moving right along. Okay, so... Pokitaru is, again, one of the longest planets in the run. And it's made even longer in this category because we don't have any of the crazy weapons that we have in NG+. So like the guided missile, the Tesla Claw, all that. I also don't have a lot of health. If you look, I only have 4. So I need to be really careful about not dying. There's not that many checkpoints on this planet, and so if I die at any point, I pretty much have to do like an entire island over again, and it can just lose you well over a minute for each one. Something as well to note is I'm actually killing these fish in a very specific way so that they give me a lot of extra bolts. Okay, that should be fine. Yeah, you want to have around 2,000 by the time you get off this boat, so we're in a good enough spot. We'll try to sneak up on me there. Okay, so some more SIs up here. This bolt is actually really far out of the way, and so thankfully we can just scale this mountain. And cut around here, and this bolt. And sometimes those fish like to corner camp you while you're grabbing the bolt, so. But thankfully they didn't this time.
Also, if it wasn't obvious, you can start playing your Rocket League matches as soon as you want, as soon as you can, please.
We're doing really well with bomb drops as well. That's one of the other big things with this planet is because we only have the bomb glove. It's very easy to be stuck in a situation where you don't have bombs and then have to either get creative or it can just lead to some sticky situations. But we're doing really well so far. And so basically the concept with how to get the extra bolts here is I'm basically swinging my wrench at normally 2 or 3 is preferred, and then bombing the entire cluster. And you see we're getting like well over 100 with each one. I want to hopefully have around 3,000 by the time I get off this boat, so hopefully... I didn't get that many off that one. That's fine. There's some extra bolts we can grab if we need. Yeah, we're fine. And the fish actually behaved there. They all kind of jumped in together, and so I was able to only use a few bombs. Alright, just making our way over to the last island here. It's being mean now. Okay. Alright. Had to use some extras there. If you line that up in a certain way, you can actually side flip right through that door and buy this early, but that's fine. Alright, now we have the thruster pack, which doesn't get too much use in NG+, but it gets a lot of use in Algo bolts. Alright, so again, ammo drops here are super helpful. Unfortunately, I didn't get... I was a little slow on the start of the ship fight, so... But that's okay. I mean, cleaning up the last couple guys isn't too bad anyway. This one is the problematic one, but this one's thankfully... Because the way that last ship goes, it ends up being directly behind you. But yeah, got through that. Okay, so this planet coming up is one of the few times we're gonna revisit planets. This one is mandatory though to come back at this point, just because now we have the O2 mask, which lets us breathe on. This is why we had to play as Clank earlier, is because like in the story there's like toxic waste going around, and so it's not suitable for breathing. But we're all good now. And here you saw me do a technique called tiptoeing. So basically I'm colliding with the surface, and you have about 2 frames where you can jump off of it again. So that's going to be used in a couple spots coming up. Notably on the space station a little bit later on. That's really, really important. I'll talk about that more when we get there. But this is one of my favorite planets in AGB. Just you cover so much ground in such a short amount of time, and you're doing crazy out of bounds using crazy movement. And again, so just like in NG+, we have to move the infobot here, the little glowing robot, to a bunch of different spots. Without the walloper and the PDA and all that, it's nowhere near as fast, but that doesn't make it any less stressful, trust me. Again, there's not that many checkpoints, so if I die at any point, then we're going all the way back to the start. But we're all good there, and again, we have the magnet boots now, but it's actually a little bit faster. Just glide up top there. Alright, so this last bolt is... This chain can be pretty tough, and charge my gun. Should be good. Perfect. You have to do 3 of those mid-air long jumps back to back to back, and they all have to be pretty solid. Otherwise, you're not going to have the speed to make it to the bowl. Okay, so once again, everyone's favorite planet. This ship fight, again, like I cannot stress enough, is the source of a lot of runners' frustrations. It can just seem so random at times. And hopefully, no accidents this time. I got that again. Again, so when you go under the turret there, it doesn't actually check your Y coordinates. So long as the other coordinates are in check, it'll just up warp you straight up to the turret. And again, we're aiming for very, very specific spots here to deal extra damage. It's like being rude right now. So I'd like to think maybe that illustrates why this planet can be frustrating to some. Okay. So the same sort of surfaces I mentioned earlier are on this planet, the ice. And so we can infinite long jump straight over to this area. And then while the turret fight can definitely be tedious, I actually like a lot of the movement to get to these other bolts here. I think they definitely redeem this planet overall for this category. Unfortunately, just a little bit too late there, but that's fine. This I think this won't take too long to go up and down. And this is an area of the game that we don't normally see. It's for a pack attachment for Clank that we just don't really need. It helps with swimming, and there's no real swimming sections that we need to get through. And normally you use another gadget there to raise and lower water levels, but by doing that movement there in a certain way, we can just jump on over. Okay, so this is the planet I mentioned where tiptoes are really important. And like I mentioned in NG+, this planet is normally a giant labyrinth of different rooms, different hallways, different enemies, just tons of intertwining pathways. And our goal is basically to just beeline it straight to the end. So again, without the PDA, it can be a little frustrating. So there's a fast way to do this, and then a normal way to do this. I'm going to try and do the fast way, and hopefully no issues. So here I'm just trying to get out of bounds, and we're going to take a very specific camera angle, and I think this will work. Yeah. So when building up my speed there was a slight hesitation at the start, and so I didn't have enough speed to cross the gap, but had to try. That's okay. So this is the normal way that we do this. So typically, if you cut that corner, you can just go straight there, but here we're gonna actually try and go around it. So if it'll let me up. Okay, there we go. So you can see Quark is the enemy there. We're calling him an enemy because this is pretty much one of the only games he's an enemy in. But and again, the Quark boss fight, literally you just quit out and make your own way over here, and you see the red flashing lights. That means we cough beat the boss. And then here, and I didn't get it. You want to tiptoe off of that corner there. This should be fine. Again, it's a 2-frame window, just like that, and you basically have to be holding neutral on the analog stick and mashing X, so that when you collide with the surface during those 2 frames, you can jump off the surface instead of sliding down like I did that first time. Second try, still fine. A-okay. Alright. So, this next planet is super important. So, if you watch the NG Plus run, I mentioned that this planet is normally really long, and this planet is really long in All Gold Bolts. But it's also important because it's the planet that we get the PDA on. And the PDA, if you watch that NG Plus run, then you know just how busted it is, so it's super important. So, we're just going to be... There's a few things we have to buy on this planet, but bolts are usually pretty generous. Full count should be fine for this. So I'm going to try a skip here, if we can get this. Didn't get it. If you walk off that in the correct way, you can actually continue walking as if you were on the magnet, the magnet strip, but on the back wall there. So not going to try it again. It only saves a couple seconds, but it's pretty cool. Okay, so this is actually the path to buy the PDA, and it's more magnet strips and lots of ice, and you can very easily get knocked off, and there's no checkpoint. So if I die at any point, then we're taking our losses where we get them. So yeah, what's important here is just not dying. And again, we only have 4 health, so you see these mines sweeping in and out, and so we're going to try and avoid them as best we can. And tiny little skip here, cutting that corner like that, avoids having to go around. Alright, that's fine. I'll take a hit there. It's this next area that's important. And it's kind of interesting because not only is the PDA here, but also not 1 but 2 gold bolts, and they're literally just on the opposite ends of this platform. Why? Great question. We can just grab this ledge, and this guy's sitting right in the corner here. Alright, and then there's Quark again. We're going to buy the PDA from him. And if you didn't see the NG Plus run that preceded this run, the PDA is invaluable. So you saw there I was doing infinite jumps with it to land on that little pipe there. Here you're going to see me do PDA side flips, which like infinite jumps, but we're going to be side flipping. And oh. Yeah, money is important, by the way. Alright. Now we're good. Okay, so the rest of this planet is going to be grabbing the last 2 gold bolts. And again, they're pretty far out the way, but thankfully the PDA makes getting to them a lot quicker. This first one's not too bad. It's this last one that, and again, there's no checkpoints, so we're just gonna be making our way on over. And thankfully, if things do get a little risky, I have the PDA and I can try and save myself if I have to, but hopefully no accidents. All right, and the last gold bolt is right up here. All right, got through that. Okay, so because we have the PDA now, we're actually going to do a couple extra revisits. So the first planet that we're going to go back to is actually the second planet in the run. And when we go there originally at the very start, we have nothing. And now that we have the PDA, we have all the Clank upgrades that we need. It just is significantly faster. And this is one of my 2 favorite planets in all of All Gold Bolts. And I think is a great example of why this category is so much fun, not only to watch, but to play. So right off the bat, we're going to do an out of bounds through this wall here. And I'm going to not swim back in. That would be really bad. This is normally a cave area that you can actually access pretty early on, but we're going to access it this way. There's 3 gold bolts on this planet, and they're all, well, 1 not so much, but 2 of them are, you get them in very abstract ways. So this is the first one. Again, we're stuck in here, so I'm just going to have these guys gnaw at me. And normally you're supposed to, this is actually the path to get the planet Iridia. And Iridia is one of the first planets in the game, but with the routing that we have here, we actually come back here at this time, not only because of the PDA, but also to get Iridia. And Iridia with the PDA and the helipack is significantly faster again. I don't know how many times I've said it at this point, but I cannot stress enough how vital the PDA is. Okay, so this is one of my more favorite bolts, so hopefully this all goes well. So we're going to do a pack swap here, and then, again, do some PDA stops to build up speed in a short amount of time with not a lot of room to work with. And then actually carry that speed into the water slide here, so that... Oh, I missed the last minute. That's okay. You can normally get a really cool PDA glide out of that, but that's fine. And this is another, like, really far out of the way area. You actually normally access this area by getting the pack attachment for swimming that I mentioned a few planets ago, and swimming all the way through the river. But this way's much cooler. Okay. Final revisit in this sequence is to the Blarg Station. There are a couple ways to get this bolt without revisiting, but they can be tedious, and with the PDA, it's not only still pretty fast, but just way more carefree. Normally you have to like do all this elaborate movement and get a really good midair at the top of that doorway there. Oh, we got it. Okay, cool. So what you saw there was... I have to die at a very specific time, sorry. Because if you die before the bolt is like... Before the game acknowledges that you've collected the bolt, then it won't give it to you. If you open the PDA, the frame that you collect the gold bolt, you actually can cancel the animation of you picking it up, and you saw I was able to move during that. So that's cool. They are frame perfect. They're not something that runners will go for all the time, but they are cool when you get them. Guys being rude. Okay, so this is another really cool planet and another great example of all the different movement. So just like in NG+, we are making our way on over up top here to... This is actually like the final room of the planet. And then we're actually going to go over this way backwards. So first we're going to grab this bolt. And then we're going to enter the first area by actually going backwards through the second area. So normally you go to the planet that we're going to get the coordinates for in a second. You get a gadget, and then you make your way on over. Ooh. Okay. I must have collided with something there and ate all my speed, but that's okay. What's important to note there in that sequence is I got Ghost Ratchet again, so again, game thinks I'm dead. I can jump through walls. And that's super important for this area here because I actually, now that I'm Giant Clank can also jump through walls, so I can actually access the arena area from the back here. And then this section's pretty self-explanatory. It's just kill stuff. These are all in a set spawn order, but that's not really important. What is important to note is that I am trying to... we have one final purchase left in the run at 2,500, so I am trying to pay attention to bowl count. The arena here on Quar 2 with Giant Clank is notorious for being a really good spot to grind bolts. So... hopefully, we get to 2,500 by the end of this. Just clearing out the last few helicopters. I think that should be everything. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're sitting just shy of 2,100. Didn't get it there. Sometimes the game will prompt you to enter the ship from underneath there, and so sometimes you can get that. It's a cool little thing. All right, so this is probably my favorite planet in All Gold Bolts, and the thing I love so much about Iridia is there's only gold bolts. And Iridia is a huge map normally with like 3 or 4 different pathways. And we actually covered, ideally, all 4 in about 2 minutes. And so it's just crazy movement after crazy movement after crazy chain after just... it's beautiful. So here's the first bolt here. And then we can make our way on over, and again, the mud, just like before, we can infinite long jump off of it, so I'm going to try and build up some speed into a chain here. Oh, I bonked, that's wonderful. That's fine. We'll just do this from over here then. Yeah, you just go from one corner of the map to the next, and it's all very, very fluid. And since I'm so low on bullets, I'm going to actually grab these here. Okay. We can easily make up the difference there. Okay, and then one final chain. Perfect. And then there's less bolt. And that's funny. Sometimes you can get blocked there. All right. So, Drek's fleet is probably the most, along with Veldin 2, which is the final planet, they're the 2 most notorious. So, right at the start, we have probably the hardest bolt the hardest gold bolt to get in the game. And to do this quickly, we're going to be building up a bunch of speed on this runway here. And again, there's very, very deceptive invisible walls that you can bump into and they'll just eat all your speed. But ideally, I'm going to try and turn around here. I need to move this way. Convert all that speed. They're not going to give me textures. Oh boy. So, again, I'd like to think that this illustrates why this is maybe such a hard bolt to get. There's just a lot of things that can go wrong. Thankfully, I didn't die, and thankfully, I didn't clip back out. So, you know what? I'll take that. I didn't die. I didn't clip back out. And the zap water that you see here actually extends out a lot farther than you would think, so it's very easy to hit it on accident when doing all that. And again, you're moving really fast, so sometimes it's a bit hard to be cautious about it. Okay, so the second bolt's also pretty hard. It's nowhere near as unforgiving. But again, same thing. Trying to build up a bunch of speed. And this was a pretty okay chain, I would say. Okay. Again, there's just so many spots where you can get your momentum eaten. And then you're just hacking your way through movement, trying to get a chain going with not a lot of room to work with. Okay, so I'm gonna try and clip through this wall. Okay, got that. Again, sometimes it's not too bad. Sometimes you slip in like butter, and sometimes the wall likes to fight you. But got through that. All right, and then we can cut through that. I don't know why that hole in the ceiling exists, but it does. And you can actually carry your momentum out of that cutscene if you do it right. I didn't do it 100% right, but it was cool enough, I guess. All right. Kalibo 3 is the planet that we also don't normally see, and pretty much the whole point of this planet is to get one gadget, which you take to the planet with the giant Clank fight on earlier, and that's how you get to that other section. But in terms of gold bolts, basically we're going to be going over to this building in front of me, and we're going to be building up speed and going to either side. There's a gold bolt on either side, one for the grind rail track and one for the, well, you'll see. It's a, if you played this game, it's a pretty iconic room. I'm not going to tell you what it's called, but use your imagination. Alright, got that nice and easy. And for the left side. Alright, this is the employee break room, and it's just a room with chickens in it, you know? Nothing out of the ordinary. Alright, one last planet. And once again, this is easily a contender for the hardest planet in the entire run. And it's the last one, so... The perks of Ratchet 1. Okay, so the final purchase that we're going to make is... I'm actually going to buy a weapon, which is funny to say because we don't normally do that. But, and then the 3 bolts here are all... Let me back this one up. Again, you just get them in very abstract ways. Okay, got that. There's another example of the long jump slope intercepts that I mentioned back during the NG Plus run, where basically we're just going to carry our momentum into a very specific spot. Okay. You can normally infinite long jump right through this wall. But I dropped it a little early. That's fine. This. Okay. Okay, and then here we're gonna get Ghost Ratchet again. So again, game thinks I'm dead. I can walk through walls, and very important for this bolt. Is I can carry a chain through walls. And that was a very sketchy chain, but we made it work. Okay. One last bolt in the game. And this one's not too bad. Honestly, the worst thing about this bolt, it's not so bad right now, but this planet lags a lot, and it's normally like painfully obvious. The game goes down to single digits, but got through all that. All right. And then, just like in NG Plus, okay, that's fine. We're going to go around this way, go around this area in a way to where I'm not going to spawn Drek here. And then, because of this, we actually normally, Drek has a couple phases, but by doing this in this particular way, we're only going to do the last one. And the reason that I bought the Pyrocitor, which you'll see is like a flamethrower weapon, for some reason, when they ported the PS2 PAL version to 60 Hz for the PS3 HD remaster in 2012, for some reason, they kind of goofed the Pyrocitor, and the Pyrocitor actually on this version deals damage on every single frame so long as you are directly up against the boss's hitbox. So, oh, and he gave me bomb, thank goodness. That's the best attack because he kind of stays in place and you can get right up against him. All right, and one more. All right, time will be in 3, 2, 1, time. All right, and just to make sure we're not a fraud, 40 out of 40. All right, that's Ratchet 1.
Awesome, that's all of them. All right, folks. Well, that is going to wrap up the first day, first evening of the marathon. We'll be back in about 11 hours to kick off a full day of speedrunning. So, you know, until then, stay warm, stay safe, play video games, go to a LAN party. There's one right here. It's pretty good. And I'll see y'all then. Have a good evening.